Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Kryptonian saying here, bringing you guys another discussion for Black Clover, and today we're going to be looking at chapter 318. I'm going to give you my thoughts on this. This isn't necessarily going to be a review, but there is quite a bit to talk about from this latest Black Clover chapter. And first and foremost, we have to just talk about the obvious. Lucifero right now, in terms of how he's being booked by Tabata. Lucifero, if he was a WWE heel, Lucifero would be that dude in the company right now. Lucifero will be Roman Reigns. He would be saying, acknowledge me, and we'd be calling this man the tribal chief, because this man is dropping bodies, and I absolutely love everything that I'm seeing right here. The fact of the matter is that Lucifero is the walking embodiment of what it means to alter fate. And what I also like about this is that fate looks like it's going to be a common theme when it comes to Lucifero, because Asta, Liebe, Lichita, and Lucifero, they're all connected by fate, and that's so beautiful because you have two real themes that are being set up in this. You have the whole theme with fate, and then you also have the theme of the light of love versus the darkness of evil. And I like how Asta is being used as a vessel for all of this. So one way that you see this is the fact that Liebe looks over at Lucifero, and Lucifero gives him the same treatment that we saw Wanda get in Endgame, where Thanos is looking over at Wanda when she said, do you remember who I am? Thanos is looking at her like, dude, did I fuck this bitch? What's going on here? Thanos blows her off. Wanda goes crazy. Well, it's the same thing here. Lucifero blows off Liebe, and there's no reason in me remembering you. You ain't got no magic. I don't see what the big deal is. And so you see more of the parallels between Asta and Liebe continuing to be built on, though it's a bit of a rehash of what we already know. The fact that Liebe has no magic, Asta has no magic, both are being looked down upon for it. But here things are a little bit different, and I like what Tabata did here. It's very subtle. So Liebe can't just bash in Lucifero's skull like Asta would do anyone who is looking down on him. Lucifero is a freaking beast. The man is altering whole ass landscapes with his magic, and he's not even at 100%, which makes his flex that much more impressive. And I like the analogy that we got in this chapter. The analogy was, it's like, yo, does not matter what it is that you do, like a ant, a fly, whatever it is, it cannot harm an elephant. And Lucifero's presence just feels that much more massive, and the way that he's drawn in this chapter, it is something that I really appreciate. I do, every time I look at him, I do feel this sense of dread, and I like what Tabata's doing here. I think that there's something very well done about his design that really makes you look at him and say that, okay, this is the devil that we need to be worried about. Lucifero's a freaking beast. So I did like that, and I will say that what's even crazier is the fact that Asta, when Lucifero's doing all this flexing, Asta manages to stand his ground here, and there's some symbolism in this because it makes me think about the expression that the Japanese have, that the nail that stands out is ultimately going to be hammered in. Asta has no magic. His devil has no magic as well. However, Asta withstood Lucifero's flex, which means that Julia's prediction that Asta dying is going to jump up a little bit more. We got to turn that meter up a little bit more, simply for the fact that that's a really big death flag right there. That's not something you can ignore. Asta, for better or for worse, is going to be on Lucifero's radar. Now, what I also find interesting here and very fascinating is that the battle Asta versus Lucifero looks like it's definitely going to hold some weight. Lucifero doesn't respect humans, but from all this flexing and this big dick energy that we see, we can definitely see a common pattern here, which is the fact that Lucifero, he's not going to respect humans, but he's going to respect and acknowledge power. Now, the only issue I potentially see here and what could lead to Asta dying is Liebe is super emotional right now, and that makes a lot of sense. Lucifero killed Asta's birth mother and Liebe's adopted mother. Lucifero is the reason why Liebe wants revenge, but pushing Asta to fight someone this powerful, Liebe's need for revenge could be what leads to him getting killed, and ultimately leads to Liebe trading his life for Asta should he be sent to hell or to the underworld. I kind of feel like that's where Tabata's going with this, but we'll have to see, especially since the fact that Asta is well aware of the fact that his Devil Union mode still has a bit of a time limit for it, and that's going to be something very important to keep in mind going forward. Now, the other thing that it does feel like this being set up here is, like I said earlier, this idea of love versus darkness. Throughout all these battles with all of these devils, when everything looked like it was the darkest. It was humans gaining power through love that ultimately caused them to overcome the massive evil in front of them that were the devils that they were fighting. My favorite example in this would be how Noelle and Nozel teamed up, and the sibling love was what allowed them to take out Megicula. We saw another case of this when we saw Longris and Finral when they briefly teamed up in that battle against Xenon before Yuno went into a Super Saiyan mode with that star magic. We've seen those familiar bonds, whether it be Yuno inheriting magic that kind of links him to his parents, or whether it be Nozel and Noelle, or the flashback that Nozel had when their mother was fighting against Megicula, Longris and Finral working together. We've seen time and time again how love, especially family love, is something that can really turn the corner against some of these devils, and I kind of feel like that's where this is going here. Asta and Liebe, I feel like that's something that Tabata is toying with a little bit. I don't think that we're going to be in for what some people in the community, which I disagree with, but some people in the community like to say is a fairy tale level ass pull. I don't think that that's where we're going, but I do think that Tabata is kind of walking that fine line right here. Asta and Liebe fighting Lucifero, the being who's responsible for altering their destiny. That's clearly what's being set up, as is the love versus darkness narrative. Liebe wants something more than to see Lucifero die. His wish for this death comes from his love for Asta's mom, but the intensity in which he's drawn gives a hint of that darkness, and it makes sense. He is a devil. Somebody's like, no shit, Sherlock. What else brilliant observation do you have? However, I will say this. Asta is the balance to that, and he's the yin to Liebe's yang, and that could be what allows them to briefly hold their own before ultimately falling to Lucifero. Now, Lucifero, just off the flexing that he's done so far, is too big of a threat to fall anytime soon right now. The fear that he brings to the battlefield represents a form of darkness, and Asta, being a vessel of love, is being ridden as a light that's trying to shine through that darkness, but he's trying to do so on his own. And one thing that we've seen from Black Clover is that you can't do that stuff on your own. You need help and assistance. Liebe being there with them, that still counts as Asta acting alone, in my opinion, and I'll explain to you why in a second. So ultimately, Asta, through his efforts right now, is not going to be able to shine through bright enough, at least on the first try. He's going to need further help. That's something that the Supreme Devil that's on the battlefield right now pretty much implies. He's like, yo, Asta's bullying his way through the gravity on the battlefield. Asta trying to fight Lucifero. It's like Captain America trying to stop Thanos in Infinity War. The moment the Lucifero gets serious, Asta's gonna get dusted faster than Thanos snaps his fingers and wipes out half the life in the universe. The odds, they're stacked against him, but it's beautiful writing because Lucifero, without having done very much, Lucifero has shown that the stakes have been raised, and that this time it's gonna take more than a past your limit speech in order to bring him down. Lucifero's presence here is being written as being so gigantic that Asta feels like more of an underdog now than at any other point in the series before now. However, it's because we get that underdog mentality that it makes the payoff that much sweeter once we get to it, because for right now, Asta has had to struggle, and it has to be a really good build-up, and I think that that's what Tabata is going for. The best way I can put this is that Asta versus Lucifero is being booked much in the same way that the WWE is booking Liv Morgan in the Raw Women's division. She's scratched and she's clawed her way up to contending status. She's that underdog that all the fans are rooting for, but she never seems to quite get over the hump, and Becky Lynch just appears to be that much further ahead no matter how impressive Liv Morgan is when she puts up a fight. Asta right now is Liv Morgan. He's being booked to struggle. However, unlike Liv Morgan, I believe that in time, Asta will accomplish his goal. Now, I know some of you guys are going like, no shit, Sherlock, it's a shonen. The main character almost always achieves his goal. However, what I'm really stating right here is that I believe that we're going for a long-term booking, and this is not going to be something that's going to be immediate. The way that Lucifero is being booked by Tabata right now feels a lot like how Tite Kubo booked Aizen in the Bleach manga, where Aizen, once he was revealed to be evil in the Soul Society arc, and he just humiliated the Gote 13, bodying all the captains easily in the Soul Society and doing the famous hair smoothing as he left out of the Soul Society. Lucifero is toying with Asta right now, and he feels every bit as unstoppable as an unstoppable force that Aizen was. However, where Tabata is doing it much better than Tite Kubo, in my opinion, is we as readers know on the front end how much damage Lucifero as an enemy is responsible for when it comes to our main character. Whereas with Aizen and Ichigo, even after Aizen was defeated and wasn't the main villain anymore, we were still learning about how Aizen impacted Ichigo's life, which, spoiler alert for anybody who might be a Bleach fan that's watching this video, it's revealed even after Aizen is locked away that Aizen pretty much set up Ichigo's parents meeting one another, and he's pretty much why Ichigo was born. Now, anime only fans, you have an opportunity to return back to the video now. By giving us that that Lucifero information up front, Tabata makes the underdog battle hold more teeth in the situation. While we do get to see Lucifero flex on Asta by blocking his blade and calling Asta utter trash, we as readers still have that distant hope that Asta can still pull something out in the end, despite the fact that Lucifero pretty much finished Asta faster than I would have finished inside of Vonica. She would have given the pussy up to me. I swear to God, I might have been in that 2-minute gang when it comes to Vonica. I'd be telling her like, damn girl, that pussy's so tight, it's tighter than I thought it was gonna be, but I got you on round 2. I got you on round 2, girl. Lucifero is being booked like a freaking monster heel gets booked in wrestling, and I absolutely love what we're getting right here. Asta is our baby face, and he's been taken down. All the fodder royalty's gotten forced down onto their knees when he's used his magic, but Nessa's ability to mess with fate is pretty much useless right now, so we don't even have that to lean on. Asta got body in order to put Lucifero over, and now Tabata has Lucifero, the new universal champion of the Black Clover verse, getting ready to go into a handicap match against the Magic Knight captains, which is something I said that I wanted a while back. I said that I thought that the Black Bulls going into full Power Rangers mode was some wet dog shit that I didn't care about from a writing perspective, but now we have the captains stepping up, and I'll be the first to say I apologize to Tabata because the way he's booking Lucifero right now, like I said earlier, really gives me vibes of Roman Reigns in his run in the WWE right now. It's just so damn good that you tune in every week to see what's gonna happen, which body's gonna fall next. It's setting the stage for this light versus darkness, this love versus evil narrative, this whole narrative about destiny and fate. Asta by himself wasn't enough, and now the collective of the captains won't be enough as well, which could lead to the captains and Asta working together to try and be the light that shines through the darkness. But even that doesn't feel like it's enough, unless we're taking the idea that Lucifero is arrogant enough to allow himself to be damaged by Asta, whose blade was enough to draw blood, even though it was a mere happenstance moment. Even then, I don't see how this ends without Lucifero catching a body. However, that's just my thoughts on all this. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. How are you feeling about Lucifero right now? Do you guys think that he has potential to be one of the better villains that we had in Black Clover? Do you think that this is a one and done, or do you think he's gonna be a long-term heel? Let me know down in the comment section below. But as always, guys, like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. And love, Vonica. Have an awesome day, guys.